swords or blades that never fall. Debate like warriors brave, every thought we give and save. Through the noise we cut clean, spirited minds sharp and keen. With a spark that lights the night, join us in this epic fight. Welcome to the Spartan arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Buckle up and take your stance. In this arena there's no chance to escape the vibrant lore. Dive in deep and search for more. From heartfelt talks to fierce debates, we explore what fate creates. Side by side we seek the light, in the dark our minds ignite. Welcome to the Spartan arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard.
Welcome to the spot. It's time to ignite. Oh yeah. Operation Hangout. The feeling's just right. Chilling with the crew. We're ready to groove. Opinions flying high. Come on, let's move. Woo. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Pull up a chair, let's get in the zone. Voices blending smooth like a funky trombone. Oh yeah. Topics from the heart, making us think. With a twist and a shout, raise up your drink. Cheers. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Bring it down, shake it up, feel the beat. With every word we share, the circle's complete. Woo. Living loud, think it proud, that's what we do. Oh yeah. Join the club, come on through, we're waiting for you. Alright. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Hang out.
What is going on, everybody? We're back at another show, another stream. You know where you're at. You're at Spartan HQ Network. I'm your host, the Spartan, aka Peter. How is everybody doing tonight? Tonight, we are going to dive in very deep in Hall of Fame. We might touch a little base on, WrestleMania or WrestleMania, like a lot of people are calling it. It wasn't that good. But before we go into the show, I can't do this by myself. I gotta get my boy in. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our president. Mr. President, how are you doing tonight?
Busy, but got a big morning tomorrow. Got a few engagements have to be had, so I'm preparing some materials as we speak. So just kind of getting ready for tomorrow. But pretty busy day.
Yeah. So we are talking about WrestleMania tonight.
Mhm.
I'm assuming a Hall of Fame. I apologize, Hall of Fame.
Right.
And we kind of started diving a little deep last week. And you said last week, if I remember correctly, you sometimes you have issue with Hall of Fame. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. And again, a lot of this obviously is based on my views on I would call real Hall of Fames, meaning professional sports. The NFL Hall of Fame, the Major
Hmm.
League Baseball Hall of Fame. I mean, there's criteria, there is, and there's always debate over who's a Hall of Famer and who isn't. And I'm pretty much, when it comes to grading, I'm a pretty tough grader when it comes to even, like I said, NBA Hall of Fame. I mean, there's certain players in there where it's like the Hall of Fame was supposed to be like for the best of the best, and a lot of times it looks like the Hall of Fame is becoming like the Hall of the very good. It's not where the greats are. And so some Hall of Fames have some folks in there where you kind of scratch your head a little bit, and it's like, is that person a Hall of Famer? Now, obviously, with professional wrestling or wrestling,
Hmm.
depending on depending on your your age and your point of view, and how you kind of grew up with it, you may have different criteria, for determining who's a Hall of Famer and who isn't. And then also with the wrestling, you also have to consider, are you talking about in current day with all of the different companies, organizations, and then how do you square that with the territory days when you had different halls of fame, different guys who were staples in different divisions, when you had a national wrestling alliance that basically housed or covered all those organizations. We all know that what happened in the 80s when Vince McMahon Jr. took over from his father. They basically left the National Wrestling Alliance, and they became their kind of their own entity. The question then I would have is, where do you place after the WWF? Well, first it was the WWF, then the WWF, then the WWE. Where do you place um, those individuals who were part of those organizations that were never part of WWE? And should WWE be responsible for other companies' halls of fame? So, like, you might have been a great wrestler in the UWF, for example. That doesn't necessarily mean you were a great wrestler or yet you were an asset in the WWF or WWE. So, are they responsible? You might have had your heyday in another promotion, and that promotion no longer exists. Should the WWE, I know they brought a lot of the libraries of all of these other companies. So because they own the libraries, does that then give the WWE a responsibility to put into their WWE Hall of Fame these guys who were never in the WWE to begin with? Or should they set up other halls of fame for those other territories? So I'm kind of, so that's kind of where it gets dicey for me. And obviously with professional wrestling or sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, there is no criteria, right? I mean, it's basically who back for decades it was who McMahon wanted in the Hall of Fame. And Eric just makes a point that also in the WWE Hall of Fame, you got people in there that aren't even involved in wrestling. You got all these celebrities and people that didn't pay their dues, So I'm also sensitive to those who may not have been like main event guys, but again, I do believe in the idea of wrestlers who paid their dues, those who were developmental talent. I'll be nice to just call them jobbers back in the day, but I'll be nice and use more respectful terms because a lot of those guys were really good wrestlers. It's just they never got shine on them. Like George South was a very prominent developmental talent wrestler in the NWA, especially in the Georgia/NWA Crockett promotion. And if you talk to a lot of wrestlers, you talk to Ric Flair would say one of the best wrestlers he's ever been with was George South. Like in the ring with George South, that was like a night. He called it a night off because he was so good at what he did that he made the stars look like stars and he sold like crazy. And he made you, he really built you up. So I am sensitive to those guys who paid their dues in the wrestling business, but you got a celebrity who makes an appearance one night or for one spectacle or whatever. Now you're going to put them in the Hall of Fame because they made one appearance in WrestleMania for whatever reason. So again, I get the idea that, with this in particular, like I said, we can debate stats and statistics of baseball, football, basketball, even hockey or whatever. We can all debate those and fight over who should be in the Hall of Fame and who shouldn't be, and we can compare careers and stuff. Wrestling's obviously going to be harder because, again, it's not so much about what you did as much as it is were you put in position to do what you did. Did you take advantage of the opportunities that were provided to you? And then, but one thing you can use as a criteria is were you box office? You can certainly do that. Were you a main event performer? Did you sell tickets? Did you sell out arenas? You can have that as a criteria. So there's a lot of things that go into like what's a wrestling Hall of Famer. What era they were in, were they territory or not? And then again, from the WWE's perspective, should they be responsible for someone who was in Mid-South wrestling and give them a Hall of Fame because they bought the libraries to Mid-South? Or should they, again, if you want to respect the territory days, which McMahon didn't, he wanted to get rid of the territories altogether. But I know for a lot of wrestling fans that those territory days, like wrestling was real to them. You know what I mean? Like if you grew up in the South in the mid 80s, 70s, and 80s, and you thought that wrestling was fake, those were fighting words. And wrestlers, the fans took it so real that you had wrestlers who were literally fighting for their lives. If one of their champions or one of their favorites got beat or something, especially if it was by heel, by cheating or something like that, these guys were fighting to get out of the town because they had their tires get slashed or rocks thrown at them or whatever. People took their stuff seriously. So when you talk about the legends in those territory days, a lot of those people revere those stars. Now it's also becoming interesting too because a lot of those fans are dying off. A lot of those wrestlers have died off. And the question is, who's going to preserve or keep the history of wrestling in what many people will call the heyday from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s into the 80s before WrestleMania and Starrcade and all those other kind of things took over? Where's going to be the place? Now, there are places. There is an NWA Hall of Fame. So, there's spots for that. But again, should WWE be responsible for keeping all that together? And like I said, I just don't think so because McMahon can care less about territories. It was always about stars and making money and whatnot. He could care less about the history of wrestling. At least outside of what his father did. So that's going to be an issue too. So we can chop it up in terms of who deserves to be in, who shouldn't be in, who's not in but should be in. I think that's a fun discussion to have, but at the same time, I understand that we can have the discussion, but ultimately, and I know McMahon is out, but Triple H or whoever's running things, the criteria by which people are put in. Some of these things are kind of head scratchers. So what really kicked this whole conversation off was Bad News Brown was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, which surprised me for a couple reasons. The first reason was if you listen to a lot of his shoot interviews, he was not impressed or didn't find his time in WWE or WWF all that great to begin with. He talked about some of the racist stuff that was going on even at that time, and he really didn't like the angle they did with Roddy Piper with the whole black-white thing. So, one, I'm surprised that he would even be a part of it, since he said in other interviews that it wasn't really a big deal being there. But then I got to ask myself also, is he worthy of being there? Because he never got to any more than like his feud with Piper might have been like the apex of it, but he was basically a mid-carder. So should the Hall of Fame be for the Hall of Famers? The guys who sold.
Let me ask you a question, Paul.
The guys who had the most merch, the guys who had the most followers, the guys who had really the biggest impacts on professional wrestling. So that's so for me, that is the debate. And like I said, I'm glad to have some fun with it. Eric,
yeah, of course.
His guys who he thinks should be in. I'm sure you are. If Anton comes on later on, he may have his guys or whatever. But that's the thing. But when some of these Hall of Fame inductees, I kind of scratch my head at a bit. And
no, I agree 100%, because till they announced this Hall of Fame last week, I was like, who the hell is this guy? No offense to him, I've really never heard of him, and I'm pretty knowledgeable with wrestling. Like, a lot of people don't know who Maven is. I bring Maven's name. I'm like, who's Maven? People go to me, second season. Excuse me, first was it first? Yeah, first season Tough Enough winner. He won a couple of championships. He has a big YouTube channel. We're like, no. But let me ask this question, Paul, to you. Do you think, and you can go either way with this, do you think a inductee needs to win some type of title, the IC title, the world title, tag team title? Do you think he needs at least a title win holder at one point in his career to be inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame?
I think it helps.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to make a case for somebody, I think it helps, because again, understand in wrestling, if they're willing to put a belt on you, that means that you're somewhat marketable. Either your mic skills are marketable, or your in-ring skills, or a combination of both is marketable, and they're willing to kind of go all in and say, hey, this is a guy we need to invest our time in, and at least give him a push of some kind. But there have been others who've had careers. I mean, Roddy Piper didn't win a lot of belts, at least not in the WWE anyway, or WWF at the time, because he didn't need it. Paul Orndorff, again, a big heel in that in those WWF days or whatever, he didn't win any belts either. He challenged for the belts a lot, but he didn't win because, again, he got more heat as a heel. And a lot of these guys would tell you that a belt really kind of limited them to an extent. So they didn't care about belts. They only cared about making money. Did I sell out their place? Did I generate enough heat so that you want to buy a ticket and watch the show? I don't care about getting a belt, because whether I have a belt or not, if we're selling out, I get a percentage of the gate. So who cares if I have a belt or not? But when you have a belt, then you may have to go into different towns and arenas. There's autograph signings, and there's just different commitments that maybe a guy may or may not want to have. But there have been guys, like I said, Roddy Piper, for all those years, I think he won the one Intercontinental title once, but that was it. And I think he beat, if I'm not mistaken, I think he beat the Mountie, one of the Canadian wrestlers. I think he beat him for that or something like that. And that was it. And people popped because he won it. but he was already Piper. He was already the
He was
biggest
really known
heel
as a
in the show.
good. But before we move on, let's get this guy in here. All right, guys, let's get Anton in here very fast.
He enjoys that way too much.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
Can't help myself. Can't help myself.
He's prepared. He's like up here already before I hit the button, and he's like already starting to get amped up. I gotta give him credit for that. I gotta give him credit. All right, Anton. So I don't know if you heard what Paul was saying in the background.
He was talking about Bad News Brown.
Yeah. So my question was to him was, do you think you need a title to be in the Hall of Fame? And he's saying it helps, but it doesn't need. It's not necessary. And I agree with that. I don't think it's necessary to have a title belt to become a WWE title. There are so many other what's his name? Dusty Rhodes, for example. He didn't hold a lot of titles over the years when he was in WWF.
That's true.
Yeah, so he was in the Hall of Fame, obviously. There are so many different names we can go off and on, go back and forth. Oh, he should be in. He should be in. But the question is here tonight: who should be in? Who shouldn't be in? Because now we have celebrities going in. I'm on a gray area on that. No pun intended, of course. Because yes, they do put what's his name? Jerry Roll, great country performer. Do you really consider him as a wrestler, bro?
I know exactly. It's like
Tyson is another good example. He was in the NWA.
You got Lawrence Taylor. You have you even have Donald Trump in the WWE Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame, really?
I think so, and that was long before he got into politics too. That was because, and if you think about it, Trump Taj Mahal has hosted a few WrestleManias, and he also took part in it in some other aspects.
Yeah, the hair versus hair match with him and McMahon.
Exactly. So he's always contributed in some way, shape, or form to building up to the legend that is WrestleMania. That was always considered the show of shows. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons why he's in. And it's like the challenge about it is there's some people who are worthy, and there's some people you look at it like, how are they in? And I just feel like, man, I don't know how you come up with the criteria. Does having a title help? It does help. It does. Whether it's the light heavyweight or cruiserweight, the intercontinental, the European, even though a lot of people don't really took it that serious. I don't know if you could put the hardcore or the 24/7 titles in that same category. And of course, tag team titles does help as well.
Yeah, I don't think I'll consider 24/7 title because that was like more like a gag. I felt
that was a novelty. Yeah.
Yeah,
although if you are a tag team, because they not only induct individuals, they also induct factions and tag teams.
That's true.
So obviously, if you want to be a noted in the Hall of Fame, having a tag team title will certainly help you in establishing you're a Hall of Fame tag team. That to me is the one that makes the most sense in terms of who needs the belt the most to be considered. If you want to induct a team in, then not necessarily a faction, because like I said, the Four Horsemen or the Shield or whatever. I mean that's debatable as well. But again, I could see the Shield being inducted someday.
True. NWO was inducted not too long ago.
Yeah.
I remember. And
ironically, here's the thing, and I'm looking at the list. Sean Waldman, aka X-Pac, aka the 1-2-3 Kid, aka Six, he got inducted as a member of both DX and the NWO.
Yeah, that's what I was going with this just now. And I'll give you another example. An actor who played an Arrow in Heroes, he does have some ring skill, believe it or not. Don't knock him for his skill.
Oh, Robbie Amell.
No, Stephen Amell. He
Oh,
played.
Stephen Amell.
Thank you, Stephen Amell.
Oh,
He
I'm
has some
thinking of his
skill.
brother. That's why.
Yes, you think it was right, but he has some real skill in the ring because he literally played as a wrestler on heels. He was like the world
I remember
title,
that.
he owned the company, some shit like that.
Yeah.
But the point, now, I can see him get inducted one day. But again, it goes back to what Paul's saying. Why should he be inducted? Because technically, he's not a professional wrestler. He is a professional actor.
That is true.
Two different characters. Yes, he did some skits. I'm not denying that. There are a lot of people who show up. And TKO is literally just came out the other day on Monday. TKO is pushing down our throats. Celebrity. That's how he's going to fill the seats out. They're saying now with his high ticket prices. I don't agree with that personally. To be honest, with you guys.
It hurts a lot of the people who've been around supporting wrestling for the last 30, 40 years. I was looking at an article. I think I remember seeing some stuff on Instagram earlier today.
Okay.
How a lot of people were pissed off at TKO. Someone posted how WrestleMania changed so quickly in 1 year. Like they talked about how it was so great last year to what the hell is this year? Some people really weren't happy. Say again?
Time out 1 second. Okay. I want to backtrack and I'll ask you a couple questions on that, all right? Because you're more current with the current stuff than Paul is. No offense, Paul. So during COVID, after COVID, we went to 2 nights, if you remember, correct?
Yeah, I remember.
So me and Eric actually had this conversation very recently. So the reason I think it is a good idea because it's way too many matches. It burns out the wrestlers and the fans. Can we both agree on that? 2 nights is not a bad idea.
Yeah, because like most of the pay-per-views were usually anywhere between 2 to no more than 3. WrestleMania was like the only one I could think of that went on for at least maybe like 4.5 hours. I remember when it was a pay-per-view, they actually would have an intermission, like I think like a 30 to 60-minute intermission. Like they had stuff going on for like 2 hours. Then they had maybe like a 30 to maybe 60-minute intermission, and then they were back for another 2 hours. And you were still glued to your seat. The good thing if you were watching it on TV, and I remember having WrestleMania at my parents' house, growing up with my parents' house, and we sometimes had, a couple pay-per-view parties for some of the shows, whether it was WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and there were times we would have like a 30-minute intermission to so on and so forth, and then go back in front of the TV.
So I just looked it up. The last one of the last WrestleManias, 35 in 2019 was, and I'm not quoting you, I'm not bullshitting you, I'm not fucking you. It's 7 hours.
Pause.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Whoa.
7 freaking hours.
And they had to have an intermission sometime, I bet you they had like a 60-minute intermission.
Yeah, between WrestleMania 30 and 35, there were up to 7 hours. So and that was literally that's a lot of wrestling for everybody, even for the fans.
Yes,
so and like I told Eric, the reason it's 2 nights is one. Raw is 1 night, SmackDown is 1 night. And I don't have a problem with that, 2 nights. But I did feel like some of the matches were a little better when it was 1 night because the storytelling was a little different.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. Okay, well, all right. So you said last year in the article you read, correct?
Right.
Last year was better. Did you really consider last year's WrestleMania was better than this year? I think both were sucky the last couple of years.
Both of them were. Last year was, but I like the fact it was in Vegas. This year, I was surprised they stayed in Vegas. And from what I was reading, from what I understood, there was some scheduling issues in New Orleans. So that's why they couldn't host WrestleMania this year. That's why it stayed in Vegas again for this year.
Originally, they had somewhere else booked, but something happened that didn't work out. So they went back. Oh, we made a lot of money there. Let's go back there. Like they could have. Listen, New York, great spot. Texas, the Astrodome, another great spot. They could have found a lot.
Well, Houston and Dallas were definitely going to be out because both those buildings are hosting the World Cup this summer. So they really had to put in grass and have it all set up and laid out to see how it's going to work between now and once the World Cup starts in June.
Yeah,
So
okay, I'm using that as an example.
yeah, I
Obviously,
know.
my math was wrong, but my point is trying to get to that is that. So 2 nights, I can understand that, but I always was looking forward to the Hall of Fame. That Friday it used to be Thursday nights, if I'm not mistaken, on regular cable TV or USA or
Yeah,
anything.
USA would show. I think it was on. Usually, it was always like I think on a Friday, but when WrestleMania was always on the Sunday night, they would have it on that Friday or Saturday night.
I
It
don't remember.
was
I remember it used to be Thursday or Friday. That's what I remember.
yeah,
Now
it was
it's
always
definitely now it's always on a Friday.
yeah. It was always separate from like SmackDown. SmackDown would be on a Thursday, and then they will have the Hall of Fame usually, if I remember, on a Friday or a Saturday before WrestleMania.
Yeah. So like at first, I actually enjoyed it, and a lot of people have said, "Listen, like what's his name? Man, I'm trying to his name. Macho Man. Why be in him of Hall of Fame? There is no real Hall of Fame. What's the point of it?" That they have a good point there. So if you're going to be in a Hall of Fame, you need a building. You can go walk through everything.
Oh, there's no Hall of Fame in, I guess, in Stanford, or
No, it's no building.
Hmm.
And that is the other question. When you guys are bringing a lot of static in the background,
I
so
think that's me. Hold on.
all right,
How about now? Is that better?
no, it's still the same.
All right, just give me a minute. Let me put it on mute. I'm gonna go on mute. Just give me a minute to figure it out.
Okay, so I was saying a lot of is nowhere, is no actual building Hall of Fame to put some. They made the belts, the trunks, their
Hmm.
jeans, the whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that is one of the issues a lot of wrestlers have. Why don't we have an actual place to go and be a real Hall of Fame?
Yeah,
Didn't
and I would
like
think that would be a money maker, right? I mean, if you put it in certain places, I mean, you charge admission and whatnot. I'm kind of surprised, given again their cachet, and like I said, you can have different halls to highlight either different eras, or like I said, if you want to honor some of the territory days, you can have a separate wing for that. Stars of the UWF, or whatever the, or Mid South, or Houston, or whatever the territory was. You can have a node back to the old timers or whatnot. But yeah, I think that would certainly be something that would definitely draw a lot of fans out. We see what fans are willing to pay just to go to the live events.
True.
Could you imagine you can go there and then there's a merch shop. You can buy a WWE belt or merch and things of that nature there. I mean, I think there's certainly a lot of potential and opportunity there to have that kind of fan experience. Um, and if you wanted to put it, in New York or whatever, I get real estate and I know the cost of things and whatnot. It's crazy. That's why I was thinking, if you put it in Stanford, that could be I was surprised that there was nothing in the Stanford office that housed like a Hall of Fame. I thought they did, because when Hogan got in trouble and they said, I know they took down a lot of stuff. I thought there was something about some of his displays. I thought there was like a display place where they had a lot of stuff and they put it down. I thought I remember around that time that
It might have
they were
something.
talking about it.
I think I know their headquarters in Stanford.
Yeah.
I think they own the whole entire building. And from what I heard, when they go in, they have a lot of stuff that's up there paying tribute to a lot of the superstars from yesteryears and at that time. So maybe it was stuff they had up at the corporate headquarters.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
they
looking up right
definitely
now.
don't have
It
one,
has
but yeah.
no. There is
Yeah, I
no.
see that as well. But I'm kind of shocked at that, especially when a guy like McMahon, because we're already seeing now. I'm not getting political tonight, but we already see now with our president, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wants his name on everything, right? He wants monuments. He wants physical things, and usually for a lot of these older guys, when you're 80 years old, and you got money, and you're thinking about your legacy, you're thinking about not wanting to be forgotten. At the very least, you would build a building or a monument or a museum or something to yourself. So I'm thinking McMahon, I'm thinking he would probably want something built to house a lot of what he did to build the business or whatnot, and something that people will remember him by. I mean, usually people who get older, you start thinking about your legacy like that.
So, Paul, to that, I do know WWE is in the process for last several years trying to find old school memorabilia. There's a show on it, I think Treasure Hunt or something like that. It's called, and it's I know Booker T runs this, I guess the group. Trish Stratus is one of them who, not Trish Stratus, Lita is one of them who actually goes out to different locations and try to bid for this stuff, like
Mhm.
regular collectors, like me and you, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And these
Right.
guys are not asking like a couple hundred; they're into thousands. They put like mortgage their house and have a second mortgage to buy this stuff. That's
Yeah.
how hardcore fans are. And according to what I just found online, it says note on the bottom. All right, it says in 2026, it was a ceremony was in done live in Vegas, yada yada, and you go all the way down. It says no, WWE Hall of Fame does not, and a keyword, does not have a physical museum location. Uh, it is a Hall of Fame recognition thought annually induction ceremony.
Honestly, I think what Paul was saying makes a good idea. If they could set something up where during that week before WrestleMania, or during that week before WrestleMania, they could set up trailers, go to a convention center, or have something set up to where fans can, unlike you said, have fans look at old pictures and memorabilia.
The way they do. So during this WrestleMania, they had a bunch of Hogan stuff because they're celebrating his, all his career because of his passing and every stuff.
Right.
AJ Styles stuff was there. All the belts, every belt was there in a big museum. Even the belts that were football teams and everything. They had a lot of stuff there. Andre the Giant stuff was there. They has a lot of stuff at WrestleMania, but that's only 2 nights in a year. If you do all 4 nights, that's a whole different story. So now we're talking about 4 nights. But if you have a physical 24/7, 300 something days a year, I mean not 24/7, but 7 days a week location, yeah, I can see that making some extra cash.
That actually would work. Having an actual building, having an actual museum, setting something up like that. It works. It's a good idea. When you look at the big four in pro sports, they all have a certain location that's always associated with their Hall of Fame. When you hear Canton, Ohio, first thing comes to mind. That's the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Right.
Cooperstown, New York.
NASCAR has one too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where NASCAR. I think it's
in Charlotte, I believe. I think
but I know NASCAR has it. NBA, I believe, has one.
Basketball Hall. Yeah, Basketball Hall of Fame, Springfield, Massachusetts.
I think soccer even has one. American Soccer League.
I think so. I know U.S. Soccer. I think their headquarters is located in Chicago, but the Soccer Hall of Fame. I think the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame. I have no idea where that's located at, and I'm surprised because I like watching soccer too. But basketball at Springfield, Massachusetts, baseball, Cooperstown, New York, football, Canton, Ohio, hockey, Toronto. So the International Tennis Hall of Fame is in Newport, Rhode Island. Things like that. They can have a location where people can come out all year round to see all these items. If the WWE and wherever they want to put this at, if they can find a way to come to an agreement to build an actual building or buildings housing all this memorabilia, it would be great. That's the best place to put it, because for people like us who've been watching wrestling for a long time, it'd be great. It would be great.
You would definitely see a lot of people who would go.
Yes.
And again, if they set it up where, like I said, I was saying to Anton earlier that since they own a lot of the libraries of these older promotions, like what if you had a wing that was for AWA or in those stuff? Because that's a point I was making also. Like, I think like anything else, I think your Hall of Fame needs to be your Hall of Fame.
Right.
So if you weren't part of WWF or WWF or WWE, you might have been a big star in another promotion. That was the one thing because I watch a lot of old stuff.
Right.
And I know guys who were in WWF or E as jobbers. But if you went to like the Carolinas and the Mid-Atlantic territory, these guys were like title holders. So I said, wait a minute, Don Kernoodle was a guy who, every time I saw him in WWF, he was a jobber, either in a tag team or as a single. Like, I didn't think he was any good.
Barry
Then
Windham,
I'm watching. What's that?
Mike Sharp, Barry Horowitz, Steve Lombardi, and the one character who was the Brooklyn Brawler. Those are some of the most notable jobbers that were part of
Right, but I'm saying,
years.
Kernoodle in general, he was a star. Like, he was like I think he might have been a Mid-Atlantic champion of some kind, either in tag team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in fact, he was tag team champions in Mid-Atlantic Wrestling with Ivan Koloff.
Wow.
So I'm saying you got these guys, these guys were stars in these other promotions, but when they got to WWF, they were like, they were mid-carders. Not everybody who came, just because, like I said, Piper, he blew up. Like, I know Piper, he was big on the West Coast and in the Portland territory. He was really big there. He was big in the NWA in the early 80s. But when he came to WWF, it just took off. It just like he really became a household name. I don't think a lot of people knew, certainly not in the Northeast, who Roddy Piper was.
True.
But his personality was such, he just took it. Same thing with Randy Savage. Randy Savage wrestled for his dad's promotion. Paffo's, his dad, Paffo, he had his own independent promotion. And they were basically, like I said, they were barely on television. If you watch, you can find some of the old, I think it was IWF or something like that. I forget the name of the promotion, but it was low rent.
But also, I think Randy's also brother, Lenny, was involved. That's what he was known.
Correct. Yeah, him and his brother, they were tag team partners and stuff in the dad's promotion. But when Vince started his national expansion, he went into all these territories and found the talent. And he was like, look, I want Randy Savage. And even though he was the Macho Man long before he came to the WWF, he became truly the Macho Man when he came to WWF.
Exactly.
So again, you do have those guys who like their careers catapulted from obscurity or being big fish in small ponds in these smaller promotions. But then you had guys who were big stars in those promotions, and they were nothing more than a mid-carder once they came to WWF. Jimmy Snuka was famous in a lot of promotions. He was tag team champions with Paul Orndorff in Mid-Atlantic Wrestling.
Wow.
He was popular on the West Coast. So people knew throughout the territories who Jimmy Snuka was. But he became the Superfly that night in Madison Square Garden when he jumped from the top of the steel cage onto Don Morocco. Then he became Superfly. So it's definitely been a launching pad for sort of that national, but then some guys get lost in the sauce. But the point I was making, though, is I don't think that because you were a star in another promotion, should the WWF acknowledge, because they're going to ask, what did you do for our bottom line? If you came from another territory and you helped our bottom line, then yeah, we can give you some grace. If you came from another territory that doesn't exist anymore, then maybe you should die like the dinosaurs and nobody remembers who you are. But like I said, I think it would be a great service to wrestling fans, period. If the WWE, and yes, I get it, it's money, it's expenses, and you got boards and you're publicly traded. And those kind of projects generally aren't well accepted. Because especially when you're publicly traded, it's about what your EBITDA is and what your bottom line is. And so to say, look, we want to take $1 billion and build a place and have all these different things and have all these wrestlers from all time celebrated. you're gonna have to sell it. I mean, but a lot of people don't like. That's why. Why do you think most museums and national parks and things like that? Why do you think they're publicly financed? Because if this is a corporation, they're gonna be like, no, where are we gonna make money? It's like what the museum or whatever. It's like it's not about the money. The Smithsonian, it's not about the money, even though they charge admission, and it's not a lot of money to go.
No,
You're not spending hundreds of dollars to go to the Smithsonian.
I've been to my wife and I've been to the Smithsonian.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. But it's from a country perspective. It's like this is bigger than making money. This is about our history. This is about our legacy. This is about bigger than us.
People like Jim Cornette, people like the Undertaker, who are these legacies who love everything about the culture and the history, and they're doing everything possible to preserve it.
Exactly. And it's interesting you mentioned Jim Cornette, because I meant to bring him up earlier in the show, and thanks for reminding me about him. Yes, he's a major protector, especially of the NWA and those territory days.
Exactly.
He's got a massive collection of stuff that nobody's even ever seen. And like I remember that he did this one video. They went a tour of his house in his attic, and he's got this reams and reams of stuff. But the thing is, when he dies,
what's going to happen to all that stuff?
Yeah. So I mean, I think that, you know, but I would think McMahon himself, well, at least when he was involved, like I said, we all know the situation now, but
right.
I'll be thinking if I were Vince McMahon, what about my legacy? And shouldn't I at least build something that will be a perpetual, as long as wrestling or sports entertainment exists? That should I build something that people will know what I did for the wrestling business? And if you want to go through, go back again, his father's legacy and the old WWF, the Bruno Sammartino era and the Buddy Rogers era and all that, and then throughout, at least something for yourself that some of that isn't going to be lost.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is, it would be great. You build a museum like this. You build a Hall of Fame like this. Each wing is dedicated to particular promotions. Mid-South, like Mid-South,
Memphis, Houston, San Antonio, the Los Angeles. I mean, you had so many territories.
And Stampede Wrestling, what they did in Calgary as well.
Canadian wrestling, yeah.
The Hart family has contributed. You know, find a great way to pay tribute to the late, great Stu Hart and the members of the family who also contributed, whether it's Brett, whether it's Davey Boy Smith, the Dynamite Kid. We know Owen Hart, unfortunately, probably won't get that type of recognition, and we understand why. But yet, you can also honor Edge, Christian, Lance Storm.
Edge is in the Hall of Fame, dude.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but also turn the top because the fact that we all know when they go up to Canada, they're icons up there. All the Canadian wrestlers, they're big.
Here's a good example. They have Snoop Dogg in Hall of Fame. Why?
Yeah,
because I know he's related to. Because I know he's related to one of the divas.
She's not in WWE anymore. She's in AEW now.
Okay.
Yeah, because they didn't like how her character going. They walked out on them. But here's a good example. This isn't going to be a catch-22 for a lot of people. It was a kid name, literally a kid. I'm not even joking. Honor's in here, for example. Connor something. So they added him, and they had the Connor award for a while.
Yes.
The kid, unfortunately, he was a young kid. He died from cancer. Upsetting, really upsetting. Obviously, I'm not denying that. And should he be some type of, recognition? Yeah. But should he be in the WWE Hall of Fame when the kid wasn't even old enough to wrestle?
Yeah.
Think what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think
Pete, when you get a chance, I'm trying to share the screen.
Right now.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, I wanted to show this because I found a couple sites that had rosters. So again, you do have other entities that do have Hall of Fames. WWE obviously has the most, 259 total groups in there. So they have legacy, celebrity, different people. You also have like WCW or TNA. They have a Hall of Fame. So you have different, New Japan has a Hall of Fame. So you definitely have some entities where Hall of Fames have been established. You also have an NWA Hall of Fame. In fact, this here talks about it. So it was actually created in 2005, and I think it goes, even though this link here goes to 2014, it's really 2017 was the last time I was inducted into that Hall of Fame. But I think what they're saying now is this is another probably Grokopedia. They talk about the last class was 2017. They entered a hiatus, but now you also have the reestablishment of NWA Power that was bought by Corgan, William Patrick Corgan, back in 2017. So that's a promotion that kind of runs like an indie now, but it does have a lot of those old NWA guys. Rock and Roll Express were in it. But again, it says, revival efforts emerged back in 2023 when Corgan had bought it. But as of 2025, no new classes have been announced, leaving the institution dormant. So there have been efforts for some of these other promotions to have a Hall of Fame of some type. But again, you have to start asking yourself again, if they don't do this in the next 20 years, a lot of the fan base from the NWA or from those territory days, again, those guys are dying out. And so again, what's going to be left in 20 years, 30 years, where you're going to say, well, the only wrestling that is of note is either certainly WWE, maybe TNA, and maybe AEW, if it lasts that long. So again, I think that even a guy like McMahon, who wanted to destroy the territories, I just think that it would be he would, and I know a lot of people hate McMahon for a lot of reasons, and probably justly so. But I think he would be doing a lot for the wrestling business, for his dad, and for everybody else if he decided to put something like that together. And I think it would be profitable. I mean, I certainly, especially if you add the merch and all those other things there, you make it like an experience and have people go to it, and you would draw fans from all over the world.
Oh, definitely.
And so I think it would be great. But again, museums typically don't make a lot of money. That's the thing about it. But again, you have to say to yourself, this is something that's bigger than profit. This is about wrestling and the hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals, men and women, who dedicated literally their blood, sweat, and tears to the business.
Not just
I totally agree, Paul, and I'm not pushing back on that. I'm pushing back. Okay, here's the celebrities list from WWE, and you probably have it on your. Say, I'm looking at the same website you're looking at. Like you have Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman, yeah,
Kaufman.
Yeah, great actor, but not a wrestler.
But it was his ongoing. From what I remember, if you ever saw the movie Man in the Moon, they do touch on Andy Kaufman's, beef.
Yeah, he had a small stint in wrestling.
Against
I think he was actually put out. Like, I don't know, someone choked him out, someone put him to sleep or something like that, and he was actually choked out.
I think that was Jerry the King Lawler, because they were going back and forth for a period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Arnold Schwarzenegger's in here. Why? You got Bob Uecker,
Bob Uecker, who was an actor. He had an awful a sub 200 batting average baseball career, which again, I'll give him credit. He definitely played it up, and he made a lot of money being a guy who nobody knew as a player. But yeah, I mean, you can go through the list. Like I said, Trump earlier, Dennis Rodman.
You got Drew
Carey, Kid Rock.
I think Kid Rock's in there because he did the Undertaker's theme song. That's the only.
That's right, American Badass.
Yeah.
Well, that was a song already. That was one of the few songs that the WWE actually took from outside. The one guy who was there for all those years, who made all those intro songs for all those guys, he was there for like 40 years. But that was one of the few times, because that song that Kid Rock did, that was already a hit outside of that.
Roll It.
Yeah.
No, Roller was Limp Bizkit. Roller was Limp Bizkit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It was Limp Bizkit's the song, and they, the before American Badass was Roll. It was American Badass. Then it was Roll It. I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Limp Bizkit's not on this shit now. Like, you got Mike Tyson. Okay, good punch, but he's not a wrestler. Mr. T. No offense to the Big T man, but again,
WrestleMania.
I could make a case. I mean, none of these people, I would agree, none of these people are deserving of being in there. But you can say that Mr. T,
Ali?
by the fact that he was there for the first, he was in the main match of the first WrestleMania. If WrestleMania didn't work, there would be nothing. Like, McMahon bet everything, put his house up. He put everything into WrestleMania.
Yeah.
If it bombed, there would be no WWE today.
Exactly.
I'm not disagreeing one bit. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not saying T had a big impact. I'm not denying that. But if we're going to talk about Hall of Fame, it should be wrestlers. Keyword wrestlers or wrestler or whatever you want to call it.
Well, no, I don't mind. I get what you're saying.
Okay.
But every Hall of Fame, even the professional sports ones, have special contributors that never played the game.
That's true.
In the NFL Hall of Fame, you have GMs, you have executives, you have certain people who get those accolades. But again, it's under a special category.
Exactly.
They're not going to be in the same hall where the football players are, and they're noted as being special contributors.
Exactly.
So again, as long as you make that distinction, I don't have as much of a problem with it. But even then, I would say that there's certain people I'm still thinking, what makes you distinctive? Mr. T, I will make an argument that he's probably the most important
because he was
at the time, one, he was the biggest star when that was in the middle when the 18 was going.
Absolutely.
Mr. T was like the biggest star in the world. And again, it was the biggest gamble probably in the history of professional wrestling for him to be on that main card, him and Hogan versus Piper and Orndorff. So again, I can make a case for that. But the next Muhammad Ali, he was a special guest referee there.
That was before
I wouldn't put him in.
But that was
Ozzy.
That's when he was still mobile before Parkinson's took over as well.
Yeah,
no, it started to come on in. He was done. He was done.
Boxing, but that was before the Parkinson's took over.
I'm saying, but you can see the Park. Go back to his fight with Larry Holmes. You can see the Parkinson's was starting kicking in. Yeah. It was pretty bad.
A lot of people don't like Larry Holmes for that too.
Yeah, except Ozzy Osbourne. Again, I love Ozzy. Don't get me wrong. A great rock star, a great metalhead, great performer. But he should not be in this. I don't understand why Ozzy in here. Because they had a small skit. Freaking William Shatner's in here.
Yeah,
I won't be surprised because the Jersey Shore had a little small thing a long time ago. When the Jersey Shore was hot, they had him on the Raw and they had a little scarfle. I won't be surprised in a year or two you see Snooki inducted into this shit.
Yeah, you already know the Paul brothers are getting in.
Oh, absolutely.
And also, who's the other sports guy? Who's in the guy from Pittsburgh? Oh, jeez. Oh, what's his name? Guy from Pittsburgh. He played in the league. He was a punter. He had a big
YouTube
he was on
show just recently. What's his name?
Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee. Yeah, based on that, he may be in there.
He played for the Colts and he went to college at West Virginia.
Yeah, but I think he was a punter. Right?
He loves making fun of Pittsburgh because University of Pittsburgh and University of West Virginia have a rivalry going back for the last 40 plus years, the backyard brawl. So that's what he loves. He loves digging into Pittsburgh for that reason.
Now, Eric does make a point, and I do remember Ali. He did make appearances in the 60s, Gorilla Monsoon. But again, that Antonio Inoki was an awful. That was the worst. People made such hype about that event, him and Inoki, but that was awful to watch. It wasn't competitive. It wasn't even entertaining. So I would even I would want to just remove that ever happened. I think the only reason Ali took it, obviously, him and Inoki, obviously, it was a big payday. It was a spectacle, but it wasn't watchable. There was no wrestling. There was no boxing. There was nothing. It was just a cat and mouse affair. But again, but still, did Ali do anything that made wrestling more popular? No. If anything, Ali stole from wrestling. Because the one guy he remember growing up was a guy who wasn't even a good wrestler. I forget his Gorgeous George. Ali got a lot of his the stuff that he did as a fighter. He got a lot of that stuff from Gorgeous George, a wrestler from the 50s. The flamboyance, the robes, all that kind of stuff. That was all Gorgeous George. And even Gorgeous George, from a competitive point of view, really wasn't that good. But he made you hate him. And he drew money. He was one of the first wrestlers, because before then, most wrestlers, they were just pugilists. They're these tough-looking, hairy guys who just got in there and scrapped. Gorgeous George, he came out with the mirror and the robe and has his hair combed and all this kind of flamboyant type of stuff or whatever. And people, especially in the 50s, hated that. And usually he got his butt kicked most of the time. But that's what you paid to see. This arrogant, show-off, flamboyant guy getting his butt kicked by honest wrestlers. That's what he was there to do, to be a foil. But he was a major player in building like the personalities that came into wrestling. And wrestling became much more of a showmanship, because before Gorgeous George, it was mostly treated like an athletic contest. Like, it was like amateur wrestling plus a little bit more.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It was treated as a serious athletic contest, but it started to get more and more into the sports entertainment place, and Gorgeous George, he took it to another level.
It's funny you said that, because I started watching the other night Hulk Hogan's documentary, and the first half, it says how he got into the business. And originally he was a rock star. He wanted to be a performer, all this stuff. When he met those wrestlers, he was scared shitless of these guys as a kid. His father took him to his first wrestling match. And once they coming around to the bars he was performing at, all that stuff, he realized these guys are not that bad guys. They're just performers. And he had a physique on him at the time. He was building some muscles, and they taught him the ropes a little bit.
Was this before or after? Was this before or after his days in the Navy?
He didn't say anything about that. Hogan? Was he? I didn't know he was in the military.
Yeah, I think he was in the Navy. I believe. Rumor has it, allegedly, that he was a SEAL. I know Jesse Ventura is a retired SEAL. Rumor has it that Hogan also was. I'm not sure how true that is. I gotta look that up.
I'm looking it up right now, because I have never heard that, and I'm a huge Hogan fan, so I have not heard that at all. I know he was a pure Italian, never a military or even a SEAL. Because
who's worse though? From what I understand, Sergeant Slaughter was never a Marine or any branch of the military whatsoever.
That is a big debate in the military community. Okay,
from what I understand, that's the thing. But kudos to him, because he sold it like nobody else. He made you believe that he was he sold that Sergeant Slaughter character like no one's business. So I'll give him credit for I'll definitely give him credit for that. But that's a big.
Okay, it says here, no, Hogan was not in the military, but he had a voice for the military, like for the troops and all that stuff. So he was never in the service. The only person they say that he was in the service from the Hall of Fame part of the groups, it was Jesse the Body Ventura, who was an actual Navy SEAL.
Yeah, he was a Navy SEAL.
Navy SEAL.
Yeah, and even Justice Sergeant Slaughter. That's a big debate. I know a lot of Marines who debate that to this day. CQ is a great example. And we were at a Comic-Con, and I go, "Yo, why don't you ask them to come on your show?" This is before my channel even took off, even started it. It wasn't even a thought at the time. And somebody looked at him like, "Do you really want to have that heat on you?" Because It's a big debate in the community if he has.
Whatever the truth is, he's taking it to his grave. He will never admit I was never in the service. That he built a look. The guy was in GI Joe. Okay, the cartoon. So he's not. So again, he is like he's gonna kayfabe this to the death, and you will never know whether or not he was in there or not. But I thought that was public record anyway. I thought you could look it up. But I don't know. Can't you look up?
I think there is
public answer on someone's military record. Isn't that public record?
But if they can't find anything, but a couple of people that were in the military, Randy Orton, but he got kicked out of the Marine Corps. I think he got the big chicken dinner. I think I'm trying to remember who else was in the service as well and got in trouble. I think Ted DiBiase Jr. also, but I could be wrong.
I don't think so.
Who was it? Who was that?
Jr.?
Yeah, that I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm looking up right now. Just give me a few minutes, guys. So because I have to skim right through all this stuff that's coming up. You guys keep going until I look this up really fast.
Yeah. But again, even if you look at this current class coming in, I mean, like I said, Bad News Brown, I had problems with. Again, Dennis Rodman. And again, even when Dennis Rodman was in wrestling, that was in the WCW. It wasn't in the WWF. Like I said, I think that certainly a Hall of Fame has its allegiance certainly to those who built your brand. And if he wasn't part of that brand, then I don't understand why you have to put him in to your stuff. And I just don't. Again, some of the choices. Now, this is a case where a guy I think should have been in a long time ago was Sid Vicious or Psycho Sid or however you want to call him. He should have been in a long time ago. I don't know what the weight it was on that one. I know he died relatively young, but a lot of these guys do. And so why was he held out for such a long period of time? He was a WWE champion at one point. Certainly you could definitely make a case that he should have been there a minute ago. But
I found the list. I found one list, guys, if you want to hear it. All right, notable wrestlers that served with military backgrounds. Lacey Evans, U.S. Marine Corps. Bobby Lashley, U.S. Army. I already knew about that because he was part of the World Class Athletics program where service members also at the same time, while serving, were also allowed to be competitive athletes as well. Perfect example of the Olympics. A good number of service members will compete either in the winter or the summer games at times. So that's common. Jesse Ventura, he was a SEAL.
Correct.
Road Dogg Jesse James, he was in the Marine Corps. Who else? Steven Cutler, Zeb Coulter was in the Army. Oh, he was.
Road Dogg was in the military too.
Montez Ford of the Street Profits, he served in the Marine Corps. They mentioned Sergeant Slaughter, but I'm not even.
I just found it. I just literally found out as you're talking. It says here, WWE Hall of Fame also sponsored, aka Robert Rumor, pretend to played as a U.S. Marine drill instruction, but he was never, keyword highlighted too, he was never in the military at all.
Really?
Yeah. So even Kevin Nash, he was a Marine too.
No, I think Kevin Nash was in Army. I think Army or Air Force. I think he was in Army, if I remember. Kevin Nash.
Let's find out right now. You're right. You're U.S. Army. I apologize. He was in 1980. He served in the 22nd Military Police Corporation.
Company.
I'm sorry, company. And he also worked with NATO factor with West Germany, and
that's right. He was stationed in Germany.
Yeah, and special ops.
Yeah, he was stationed in. Yeah, that's right. He was.
But that goes back to what we're saying. Like, okay, you're gonna recognize these guys as Hall of Fames, right? And
right.
Some like. No disrespect to Sergeant Schaller. I met him twice. Wonderful person to meet. but he's not a military guy. Don't promote him as a military. That is stolen valor, and it
Yeah, and we take that serious,
and it
especially a
is
lot of,
federal crime to do that.
especially a lot of those who try to claim that they're a ranger or a SEAL. You know, those guys, yeah, do not try to impersonate those guys. Trust and believe. Do not try to impress those guys. I remember seeing one person trying to pretend that they were a ranger, and I looked at him and was like, dude.
I see people showing valor and see the uniform is all out of whack. And I love when I see a Marine dressed up, and it was a whole thing online. A guy walked into a courthouse in a Marine uniform, and the Marine sword, I don't know what it's called off my head. He had the wrong sword. And the judge looked at him like, "What? How did you get through the?"
Those sabers are only used for ceremony.
Bingo. And the fucked up part, the judge was a Marine.
How am I not surprised?
Yeah, he was about to jump off, rip his robes up, and jump over that friggin' parrot and beat the
I'm surprised too, because when you get a saber in the Marine Corps, whether as enlisted or as an officer, that is both a privilege and an honor.
Yeah, it's like the SEALs, for example, getting the globe and the hawk.
Even globe and anchor.
Yeah, thank you.
Go through the crucible. Yeah,
that is a big honor. It takes a lot of blood and sweat and tears to get through that.
When you go through the crucible, when you complete the crucible, one of the things they do, because my brother-in-law served in the Corps and so did one of my cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you complete the crucible, like you line up a formation and you drill instructions, each of them give you an eagle, globe, and anchor, and say congratulations, Marine. And then you're no longer a recruit. You're one of them. You are now a Marine. And they say you will always be a Marine to the day you die. And
that's why a Marine never says he's a retired Marine. I was a Marine, he will say, or I am a Marine, or I serve in the Marine Corps. He will never say I'm a retired Marine.
Yeah,
never.
They never say I'm an ex-Marine. They always say I'm a Marine. End of story. Whether you active or retired, they're always going to say I'm a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. And that's one thing I respect about the Corps, because they are very heavy on their history. Their history, their camaraderie, their esprit de corps, I respect them. I wish other branches were the same way too. I really do. But as much as I love talking smack about Marines, I can say that, and I can do that because I was in the Army. And that's the thing a lot of people don't realize. We talk smack about one another, but there's a mutual respect at the same time. And it's that inside joke that most people are never going to get to be a part of. But at the same time, like I said, you got to respect those devil dogs. Sometimes they're off the reservation, but you got to respect those devil dogs.
Listen, it's a fun, it's a fun, fun thing to just roast each other. That's all it is.
That's all.
Yeah.
I remember, I'll make this one story real quick before we get back on topic. When we went to visit my brother-in-law at Paris Island for his graduation, it's me, my wife, two of her sisters, and two of our nephews. We drive to the gate and everything else. Gate guard giving me a hard time because he saw in my truck that I was in the Army. I'm giving him a hard time. My sister-in-law is looking at me like, yo, are you sure you want to be one of saying this? Nah, we good. She's thinking like, yo, they're going to do something that was embarrassing in the swamp or something. Nah, we good. Trust me, we're good. And it's just like my wife and my in-laws never saw that type of stuff before.
If you're not around it, like I have been with, when I'm around my Navy guys, I always bust them. Like, listen, guys, it's not my fault you're seamen. It's just catch-22, and you got caught on the broken condom side of it.
I remember one of the funniest things I saw happen was I saw this kid at a daycare center. He was drinking glue and had crayons in his mouth. And I said, you know what? That right there is a future Marine. And someone started laughing because he got what I said. And I think the guy was, Air Force, and he got the joke. I was like, oh, you're so wrong. I'm like, that's all I can say. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Back to the topic. But honestly, if they're saying he is, Sergeant Slaughter is, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it because if he keeps saying he is, the only way.
Look the Undertaker, for example. All the stuff he did, kayfabe, to the day he retired, he was the Undertaker. You
Yep.
saw him in public, he was the Undertaker. He dressed the part, acted the part, and everything. But he was also one of the guys, and like if you weren't like one of these guys, like trying to take a shot on him, if you went up to him and say, "Yo, you know, can I get a picture with you?" He'd be more than happy to take a picture with you. That's one thing he hated. Don't try to sneak a picture. Just ask for a picture.
Just ask him. Just
But,
ask him.
but back to the kayfabe thing. Some people believe it too. That is a part of the business that some people like Paul Heyman. I know you hate a Paul. No, hey, Paul. Hey, Paul. Get it?
Mhm.
But Paul Heyman, as much you can say he did good for the business, bad for it doesn't matter. He did one thing good, kayfabe, and he said it on one of the episodes of Real, like I am the worst person at this shit. Because I grew up at the time. You protect the business no matter what.
Yeah.
Right.
The Rock is a good example. His whole family protected the business.
Protect the business.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I want to go ahead. I think we talked about that a little bit last week. It's like, do you put the entire, I guess, the Inouye family into the Hall of Fame, or people had a problem with having all of those folks? You know, we all seen the Inouye family tree and all the guys who contributed to that. Now I believe Alpha and Sika, who were like, I think that's Roman Reigns,
Father.
one of those guys, father or something like that. I think those guys are in.
Alpha was Roman's father.
And
Right.
other
So
than
you,
his uncle.
yeah,
Sika was his father.
is one of the I forget
Yeah,
which
well, I
one.
can't remember which one it was, but one is his uncle, one is his
I thought
father.
it was Alpha.
Obviously, yeah, because they're brothers. But the you know, but certainly, like I said, I think you should have a wing in the Hall of Fame just for that. When you talk about the Inouye family, like a family that had probably had the most. I know you've had multi-generational wrestlers and whatnot. I know like the Harts, and I know the Valentine, Greg Valentine. His father was a wrestler. Multi-generation wrestlers and things of that nature. But I don't think no family has ever had as big a impact on the wrestling business than the Inouye's and that whole Samoan Polynesian clan. If you want to bring Chief Peter Maivia in there, you know, you can do that. I think he was actually blood brothers, I think, with the Inouye family, and that's a big deal in that culture. You know, blood brothers, that's still a concept that, you know, some of these Polynesian cultures still honor.
Yep.
So again, that whole, and that's with obviously The Rock and his that's how he ties in.
I do know The Rock. It was a Hall of Fame ceremony. It was the whole Rock in the middle family. It was his grandfather, his father.
Sika's his father. Sika is Roman's father. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So no, that's fine. And like a bunch of Rock in Minute family. And I'm not talking about cousins or uncles, nothing like that. It was like his stream. It was, I think it was his I know his grandfather got put in, his father got put in, he was still alive at the time.
Yeah.
And somebody else too. I think his grandmother, because his grandmother was a big part of the wrestling business too.
Yeah.
She was a big promoter after
her and Peter Maivia, they promoted in Hawaii. They ran that promotion, the Hawaiian promotion. Yeah.
And after Peter Maivia died, or also known as Big Chief, she took over the business.
Yeah.
And then his mother ran it for a while. I'm not sure if his mother was put in or not, but it was his intimate family was put in all in one shot, and people were like, "What the hell is this shit?"
No, I think that's long overdue. I think that's a nice tribute, because again, you can't think of another family or first family where you've had that many wrestlers. Can you bring up like the tree, just to just so people can see it? Like this, I've seen pictures. It's like there's an Inouye family tree. And how all that works. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like that
Pretty
in
fast
any
before I
sport.
do that, I saw Rocky Johnson was put in the Hall of Fame in 08. Peter Maivia in 08, and his grandmother in 24 was put in. So it was a domino effect, a bunch of them. So you went the family tree up, you said?
Yeah, just so people can see it. I mean,
Yeah, you're right, Eric. Von
it's
Erich's
amazing.
cereal
So
there.
many folks that you didn't even know the connections with these guys. But even in that, I mean, that whole just the Polynesian impact on professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jimmy Snuka's part of that. You know, that Polynesian line. Him and Chief Peter Maivia here, they were pretty tight back in the day. The Samoan SWAT teams. And here's a guy who I can make a case he might be in the Hall of Fame simply because he's arguably the toughest guy out there. Was Haku. Haku is ask any wrestler about Haku. You
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about someone who protected the business? Or who's like the toughest wrestler? I mean, regard like the dude you just don't want to mess with. If you want to challenge somebody in a kayfabe situation to a man, everybody talks about Haku,
Yes,
and nobody wants to.
I heard the stories. I
yeah.
heard the stories that he's ruthless and he's
Yeah.
unforgiving.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a bully. He's not going to mess with you. But if you go there, you just don't want to go there.
Just
I mean, look at this. I mean, this is look all these guys. Yokozuna, Rosie, again Roman Reigns. I mean, it's just loaded.
Yeah.
So you could almost make a case that, I mean, again, the couple obviously, you're not going to put in the matriarch couple at the top. Obviously, you're not going to put them in because I don't think they had anything to do with the wrestling business. In fact, I thought one of those guys, I think he was a minister or something, like a pastor or something. But you had all these guys who got into wrestling was basically because of that couple and the kids that they had, and then those other relationships, like I said, with The Rock. I think if you scroll to the right, you'll see Peter Maivia.
Yeah.
And I think again, there's a blood brother relationship with
Yep.
Yes, yeah, Peter Maivia and that guy. Yeah, they were blood brothers. Yeah, that even though they're not related,
they still saw one of those Usos. That's basically what Uso means. Uso is brother in Samoan.
Yep. So I mean, it's tremendous. So I mean,
I do see them eventually doing like a Royal Wrestling family section, like the Von Erichs,
the Von Erichs, yeah,
Hart, and all those guys, because it's more like. I know this is kind of funny to say this. With Cody Rhodes opening theme song, because it's more than one royal family in wrestling, and he's right about that. So this is a good example. Like you have the Hawaiian family, you have the Highlands, and they're coming up. Like their grandkids are coming up really fast in indies. You're gonna see them soon in some major promotion. Then you have the Owen Harts, and they're not as popular anymore like they used to be, but they're still in wrestling in some shape, way, or form.
Right.
Yeah. Then you have the Roars, Corey Rose family.
Rhodes, yeah.
That's 4 right now off our heads. So I wouldn't be surprised you see later the Hardy Boys kids eventually come into it too. I won't be surprised at that.
Yeah.
So obviously you got the McMahons. That's a huge royal family right there.
Mm-hmm.
So because obviously Stephanie and Shane, both of them have kids now.
Yeah,
that's right.
Although still the fact that I don't know, it would have made more sense, I guess, to put her in a while ago.
Yeah, that's right.
The fact that your husband runs WWE and your husband puts you into the Hall of Fame, or he chooses to put you in at this time,
it wasn't his fault. It wasn't.
I don't know if I'm saying I don't know if it's the right time, but we talk about nepotism and all that. It just reeks of it just kind of reeks of that. I'm not saying she doesn't belong there, but it just seems very convenient that the husband of Stephanie McMahon is the one who decides to put his wife into.
Oh, yeah, you're wrong. It's a whole different department who does that, who picks in everything. Like obviously Vince wasn't in charge of that. All the departments, different ones, obviously, because he rolled with an iron fist, everything. But Triple H, Paul Levesque had nothing to do with that. So like even asked Paul to get in, inducted. He said no because they looked like too much favoritism. The only one he was okay was when Degeneration X was admitted, and he was like, "That's a group. That's a little different." Yeah. But him himself, till he officially retires, and it's going anytime soon.
Right,
not happening.
Right.
But
Now,
same
now
thing with
again, Eric mentions the Guerreros, definitely Chavo and Eddie Guerrero.
Chavo,
Obviously, there. But then again, it gets messy there because again, we all know about Eddie's problems towards the end and whatnot, and a lot of just Hall of Fames in general,
right.
professional sports or not. It's like if you died from some, substances or something that sort of takes you out. It's just a lot of people just don't want to touch that because it just gets too controversial.
Oh,
So
I remember seeing
give
a
you one
video.
even better. I give you even better. Chris Benoit was never going to be in a Hall of Fame because of the way he went
Right.
out.
Sure.
Man, they have deleted him completely, not figuratively, mentally too. Nobody can mention him. Like when they were doing the Thunderdome during COVID, and somebody put his picture up because you had to sign up for it. It was free. You just video chat. It's kind of like a video chat kind of thing, like a Zoom.
Right.
Your face was
Uh-oh. He locked up.
I'll give it a second.
If
All right, come on back, come back, Pete. When you get a chance, come back in.
there
All
it
right.
is.
Oh, now it's two of them. No,
yeah, I'm gonna take this down. Don't worry. Hit. So I was saying when it was,
Okay. Yeah.
the during the Thunderdome during COVID, somebody put Chris Benoit's paying. He got banned immediately. Boom,
Mhm.
like that.
Wow.
They don't play with that because
yeah,
that was a dark time in wrestling. They say,
yeah.
and it was. Let's be honest, it was a dark time with that. I'm not
Yeah.
denying that one bit.
I remember there was a video actually here on YouTube, and I think it was a video short. I forgot who it was that posted it. It was the night on SmackDown when Eddie had the stroke. And they were talking about he was having a stroke in the middle of the match. And I think Eddie's tag team partner was JBL. And JBL realized,
No, he was actually feuding with JBL.
say again?
He was feuding with JBL.
Oh, okay. So they weren't partners. And JBL saw what was going on. And he got in the ring and he pinned him and he told the rep, tap. Because he didn't want to break character because what was going on. He basically looked at him and said, tap. Like, yo, do the count. They did the count. After the match was over, then that's when you saw the medical people and everyone jump in to see what happened. And I remember when it clicked on to, I think it was Raw after Eddie passed. And you saw the emotion on JBL's face. And most people never knew how close they were as friends. And I think when I'm trying to remember, and I could be getting this wrong, when one of them got married, the other was his best man. I think when JBL was getting married, Eddie was served as his best man.
I'm not surprised to hear that, to be honest with you, because a lot of them were close. Eddie was a person that everybody loved in the backstage.
Yeah.
He helped the younger talent, the older talent, everybody. Once he fought his demons and they put him to rest, he was a different person. He was a pleasure to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And they loved having him back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's just interesting. Yeah. Because to me, one of my big favorite WrestleMania moments was the one where both him and Benoit won the championships.
I remember that.
And they got into the ring and they hugged and embraced and everything. Because those guys, they paid you talk about guys who paid their dues in all these different promotions. They were in Japan. They did everything. And for them to stand, both of them, at the pinnacle of the sport at that time, that to me, that's one of the greatest WrestleMania moments ever.
Yeah. Because they were overlooked, ignored. People forget how they came to the WWE because it was those two plus Dean Malenko and Perry Saturn. They called themselves the Radicals. They were overlooked by WCW. And I think that's where WCW was at the tail end as well. And they were just tired of feeling overlooked. And they were just like, you know what? The hell with this. Then all of a sudden you saw all four of them at a WWE event. And you're sitting there like, wait a minute, is that who I think it is? And then next year, all of a sudden, when they got cleared and they were wrestling, and then you heard their theme music coming in, you saw all four of them walking in. You're like, These guys are a faction? Wow, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, that was a twist 22 because a catch 22. I mean, because they didn't know there was gonna. They were towards the end, like you said, end of the WCW, but they were in WCW, and they were performing pretty well at the time, believe it or not. But when WCW got bought out by WWE, WWF at the time, they came with a package deal. There were a few people who did not have the guaranteed deal because they
Yeah,
were not big names at the
yeah,
time. And I do see the Guerrero family going in. I even see the Mysterio family going in eventually because Mysterio family has a big legacy,
Yeah.
huge too.
and they were also
Definitely
connected,
Mexican.
and they were also connected with the Guerreros too.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
know Eric had mentioned the Von Erichs who did get in. The Von Erichs, I think it was like
Correct.
5 years ago.
Mike, the only survivor member.
Correct, but the
Five
whole
Brothers.
family went in.
And
I
you're
believe
gonna the whole
so.
family. It's only
Yeah.
fitting because
But it was horrible though. I mean,
Oh,
because again,
yeah.
all those guys, the way they went out, like I said, some guys it's like it's questionable, something you just don't want to touch. But all these guys went out, some of the guys, self-deletion, took themselves out of the picture, but it was all the same thing. It was the drugs, it was just all those things. So I thought it was pretty gutsy actually to put those guys in. And again, keep in mind, they weren't a major fixture in the WWF.
right.
Now it's interesting. You did have I saw I think Kevin uh uh um wrestled actually earlier in the WWF days. He was like he wasn't
He
on the
did.
main card, but if you watch some of those old MSG cards, like it was like 3 hours long, he was on the undercard one of those. He came up for a minute.
He was a mid card wrestler.
Correct. But certainly the father, he was never in the he was never in the picture. So again, I found the only guy there was Kerry. He had that brief Intercontinental Championship run, but he was a shell of himself by that time. He only had one foot, which I didn't know for years.
Yeah, I heard about that.
He
I
lost a
didn't know
foot
about that
in a
too.
motorcycle accident or something like that. And the fact that he was able to perform the way he was, but again, the guy was a stoner. Straight. I mean, so he was not near what he was. So again, for them to induct that family in, just given the tragedy of all those sons just getting taken out, that's a tough sell. That really is a tough sell. But they did it, and so I'm happy about that. But I want to go back. I know we're starting to wind down the show. Anton, earlier I talked about some criteria. Like I know this is subjective, right?
Okay.
In terms of picking who's a Hall of Fame and who isn't. But I did talk about some criteria earlier that I think certainly should go into is somebody a Hall of Famer or not. When we say, who's in. I think box office is certainly probably the biggest thing. Since this is about entertainment, if you sold out arenas or if you were like, on the feature matches, whether in the territories, on the house shows, or on Saturday Night Main Event, or in the pay-per-views, you're a Hall of Famer. Especially if you did it over a number of years. I think that to me is like the number one criteria for getting in. Second thing I would probably say is in-ring talent. I mean, I think to me one of the best wrestlers that I've probably seen in the last 10, 15 years is Dolph Ziggler. As a performer. I mean, the guy can do it all. I mean, it's just, amazing to me. Now, again, he's mostly a mid-card. I think he won one of the championship belts or something. If not the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship. I think he held the belt once. But you saw him even when he was on the come up. The guy just, again, talented. I think there's certain guys who deserve to be there. Another guy who I think deserves to be there, but he'll probably never get in, and it's his own fault. And Peter, I posted in the wrestling group earlier today. Marty Jannetty, I think should be in. The Rockers as a tag team should be in. But Marty Jannetty, unfortunately, he had no discipline over his private life. Manny Fernandez, I'll put him in. Again, if you're talking about, I'm talking about still guys in your promotion. I'm still going to put that caveat on it. Manny Fernandez was never in the WWE, that from what I understand. And so I'm talking about just limiting it to guys who had a major impact in the WWE. The Rockers, for one reason, I know they didn't get a championship, but again, they were like, they were a feature tag team on television every week for a number of years until Shawn wanted to bring on become a star, and they split up the Rockers and that whole thing.
Barbershop.
But if you want to go, but I was even seeing today, it was Marty Jannetty that taught Shawn how to wrestle, like to really be that guy. That was
So
Marty
from my
Jannetty.
understanding, whatever his name is from the Rockers,
Marty
he's
Jannetty.
a professional liar. Every interview he does, he changes his story if you watch it. And even maybe we said it in the Dark Side of the Ring. His ex-wife said it. Everybody says he would have been a great person if he just says the fucking truth. He just loves to lie. He changed his story so many times. He had Shawn like saying, "Oh, Shawn was the problem always. He was, this and what." And truthfully, it wasn't that. And sometimes he was a problem too.
Oh yeah, but he had his, he partied too.
his demons.
He partied too much. He drugged up too much. He did a lot of things to mess up a situation. And I know McMahon wanted to bring him back a couple times, but he was a wild card.
Yeah,
he missed dates, or he was too stoned out. I mean, they could have been and should have been a tag team champion. That they should have put. I think they wanted to put the strap on those guys. Yeah, they did hold the AWA, but I'm saying in WWE, I think they had a chance to be even bigger than they were even in the NWA.
But also the good thing also about when you look at the timing in the WWF, when you had the Rockers, you had Demolition, you had the Hart Foundation. I don't know if you can really put the Powers of Pain up there. The only other tag team I can think of you might be able to put up there would be Strike Force.
I think the Rockers were what Strike Force should have, what Strike Force was. I think that was the Rockers spot.
Yeah.
And I think, again, but Marty Jannetty, he would constantly mess stuff up.
And I think there was one tag team I remember, and they often get overlooked, the Can-Am Connection.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was a real thing. Tom Zink actually left.
Dude, you forget one of the bigger ones, the Royal Warriors. They had...
That's true.
They were, again, unfortunately, as much tag teams are a great division, they'll always get broken up at some point or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the one thing you got to give kudos to the Rockers, they were one of those tag teams that became the standard bearer for those high-flying tag teams, like the Hardy Boys, like Jindrak and O'Hare. All those high-flying, both of them didn't have to be, both of them were under 200 pounds, but they were agile. They were high flyers.
Right. And just the way the coordination of the moves, they would do the moves at the same time, do the kip ups at the same time, double drop. I know you got the Rock and Roll Express. They were known for the double drop kick finish. But again, the Rockers, they were doing a lot of that same. They were, I thought, a lot more athletic than the Rock and Roll Express. Or what was the other team? The Fantastics. If you go back to, again, NWA time, you had a lot of those kind of teams like that. But I thought the Rockers really had an opportunity to be really, really good. But I think both of those guys at certain times, they never took it seriously. But by the time that Shawn, he was like, look, I think I want to, make my own ways. He talked to me. He knew how to talk to people. He knew how to talk to McMahon and say, hey, I think I actually has to be a breakout star or whatever. But Marty, he was just too, he was just too messed up a lot. And it's sad to see him now because, again, I've seen him. If you watch some of these indie documentaries on YouTube or whatever, the guy's got, broken foot. He's got all these things and ailments with him or whatever. And he's but he's got nothing else to go on. He's living his life is kind of like The Wrestler, like the movie The Wrestler. You know what I mean? Just a lot of guys who are just bad up. I mean, he can't get health insurance. He can't get operated on, but he's hobbling into these matches and he's just kind of living off the fact that, yeah, back in the 80s, I was somebody.
A lot of old wrestlers do that. Donk the Clown's another one, for example. Jake the Snake was like that at one point too.
Yeah.
But now he's cleaned up because of DDP. I'm not gonna surprise if I hear down the page goes out and saves him too. I won't be surprised to hear that. He's
Yeah.
have saved multiple wrestlers
Yeah.
with DDP Yoga. And the way he talks to him, he knows how to save wrestlers. I call him the angel of wrestling right now because
Right.
he's
Yeah.
the one who's saving all these 90s, 80s, 70s wrestlers.
I
Right.
think one person
And
I know. I think one person that I know. I think he wished he would have been able to say would have been Chris Canyon. I think if he was doing DDP yoga at the time, I think he probably would have helped Chris Canyon because I heard he had some issues for a period of time as well.
what was his stage name again?
Chris
Remy?
Canyon.
Why he's not ringing a bell?
I remember the name. I don't remember him wrestling too much, but I remember the name of the guy though. But I don't remember too much going on. You know, someone else. We talk about special category of people who maybe should get in, not as a wrestler, but you can't separate her from the man or whatever. Miss Elizabeth.
Oh yes.
I don't think she's in the Hall of Fame, but
No, not yet.
certainly in that era, I mean, she was as much. I mean, first of all, she's beautiful. I mean, gorgeous. I mean, she was really, everything. But still, there were Randy without Elizabeth. I don't see how you can make that, happen.
Can't
And
have
but it's
one without the other.
interesting. The only reason why Randy Savage is in the Hall of Fame is because Randy Poffo wanted him there. Lanny, because he refused to go in to the WWE Hall of Fame.
There are a
But
few wrestlers who refuse. Batista's one of them because give it to somebody who earns it more than I did because he wasn't in WWE for a long enough time to feel like he earned it.
right. But
Chyna's another
Randy,
one
he
who's
was
there for
like
me.
he was done. I think once he was fired, he was totally done with McMahon, the whole thing. But it was really they came to Lanny. In fact, from what I understand, their mother didn't want Randy to go in to basically to honor his wishes. But Lanny was like, look, if anybody deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, it's Randy. And I'm making this call. But regardless, yes, he may be turning in his grave right now that he's in, that I'm allowing him to go in. But he's gonna go in because he belongs in this thing.
Yeah.
So again, I give credit for that, but I think you have to put Elizabeth in also.
Yeah.
All these divas, before the divas, and all these women in there, as a valet, whatever. Miss Elizabeth was as much part of Randy Savage as anything. So I would put her. You want to put her in under special category or something like that. Obviously, she wasn't a performer, but you want to put her in. I would have no problem if Miss Elizabeth is offered a spot in the Hall of Fame. I wouldn't mind that at all.
One of the biggest things I remember with those two was when they had the wedding. And I remember
Oh yeah,
showing me at the same time they were doing this, they were in the middle of a divorce.
they already split.
But I remember hearing stories when she passed away, Randy lost it.
Oh, he was obsessed with her. Everybody said
Oh yeah, locking the door when he went for matches. He would lock the locker room door. I mean, all kinds of stuff. But it got dicey. I mean, Hogan was talking about basically she was cheating on some guy or whatever, and Hogan thought it was her cheating with Hogan and stuff. So there was just a lot. It just became like very, it just became very messy towards the end, unfortunately, for them. But
when they had
but
that,
yeah, doing that run, that 3-4 year run. When because he came to WWE, I think in 84, 85, and he was like the biggest thing. He was like the biggest thing going.
But also remember there was also the that arc when they ran as the Mega Powers when both Randy and Hulk
Oh yeah.
were tag team.
From one thing I do know, Miss Elizabeth got tired of being controlled. Like lock the door, you can't talk to him, look to the ground. It was literally like you're walking your dog almost.
Yeah.
And that's what led her to start cheating on him over the time. And they almost actually a little behind the scenes, people didn't know about during the when they were to get divorced and married on screen. A few weeks later, they were talking. See, maybe they could turn that marriage around, but it was like too late.
It was
He
Mhm.
he will never change himself because he was a very what's the word I'm looking for?
controlling,
Controlling,
obsessive.
beyond obsessive. He was like, and he blamed Hogan for everything, but Hogan had nothing to do with this.
Mhm.
Wow.
He got caught in the middle of this. That's why they never spoke to the day they died. They're probably up there arguing right now. Who knows that?
Yeah, yeah,
Another person
very.
really fast I'm gonna bring up who's never going in because it's so much bad juju on her name is because of the Vince name and the excuse me H and Stephanie is China.
China.
China is
Yeah,
never gonna be in it.
yeah, yeah, not gonna happen.
Unfortunately.
She got in that love triangle with Stephanie and Triple H,
Mm.
and
And
just
it
as
wasn't her
Stephanie was
fault.
saying earlier, and then I'm not saying it was, but I'm just
No,
saying they're the guys who are still in charge, and they don't want you go there. You basically pick all those scabs that they've been trying to cover up ever since, and even again the way she died. I mean, I think that's why I said that. The fact that Guerrero got in, or the Von Eris got in, I thought that was kind of gutsy
right.
because they generally don't like these people who kind of spiral out of control. And towards the end, we saw it. I mean, the videos of her at the end of her life and some of the choices that she got into the adult industry for a
Oh, yeah.
minute. It was just a spiral that was just
What I do know is after the whole cheating thing and he left her and everything, it went complete. She went
Yeah.
lost it. She lost it.
yeah.
Some people can handle it, some people can't, and she couldn't handle it. She went to drugs. She then X Pac was also into drugs. She was in and out of rehab.
That was
She,
that was the
for a
the
period of
worst
time.
guy. You're in a depression. The worst guy you want to get into a relationship with is Xbox. I mean,
Yeah,
that
They
it's-
was
were for a period of time as well. For I don't know how long, but they had something serious going on for a period of time.
who's this?
and that's during the drug issues she
China.
had too.
China and who?
X-Pac.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's like the worst pairing ever. Because again, he's a stoner, and her just being in the state that she's in, it's like, yeah, you want to go, you want to go there. Is yeah, it just went from bad to worse.
I'm
But
surprised
she
that
must have thought she was part of the Generation X. I mean, she was at the top. She was like a major player in the faction in whatnot. So yeah, it was you know.
I'm
That's a tough way to tumble.
X-Pac and Triple H ever really kept things going after all that stuff too.
Mhm.
You know, there's some things that you'd be surprised. Like, how do you mend fences from certain things? You know, that's the surprise. Like,
I don't think you could at that point. And if you did, they had to have a long sit down talk. And
probably
it would
so.
be- I only can imagine how Stephanie's going to react and seeing his ex girlfriend cross.
Nah, yeah, you can't. Yeah, it's
Mm.
too
Like
much
me
mess.
personally,
That's
if
just
I-
too much mess to clean
If
up.
I was told by my woman, I got to sit down and talk to her ex husband or ex boyfriend or whatever about a conversation. Oh man, you would see how many different veins popping on my head. Like even you, Paul.
Yeah, that's a mess. That's
That's ugly.
you know,
Mm.
very much so. So yeah, that's one you'll never see.
But guys, I think we
Um,
hit the nail on pretty well tonight. So you want to start getting our final thoughts?
This is a good
No,
show.
definitely.
Yeah,
All right,
this is
Paul, I'll let
this
you
is a
go
good
first.
show. Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, I think there is some criteria, and I think this is fun to talk about because I think there is some criteria that you can use honestly to talk about the subject. Again, were you box office? Did you sell out arenas? Your impact on wrestling and your in-ring abilities. I think, certainly you have people who have been able to combine all three of those. You have some who were major attractions but couldn't really work very well. I mean, superstar Billy Graham, for example, back in the 70s, was an awful worker. Awful. He wasn't nimble. He really didn't have a lot of ability as a wrestler, but his body, which was certainly what inspired Hulk Hogan and Jesse Ventura and those guys, he was definitely one of the unique physiques that led the way for the more muscular build of the wrestlers that came years later. He definitely was the pioneer from that, and his mic skills were legendary. back then. Him and Dusty Rhodes at that time, they were the best guys on the mic. They could shoot a promo like no one's business. And that's what sold and got people into the arenas. Was he a great worker? No. But he was a major influence on wrestling, also based on the people that he inspired to be in wrestling. Just like Gorgeous George, again, not a great wrestler, but he was able to generate heat and passion in order to get folks to, again, the body takers to see him get beat. So again, I think that those people who really been uh um involved in the business in that way, great entertainers, great sellers, great showmen, and again, box office. I think that's really what you need to base your Hall of Fame on. Um, and like I said earlier, if you are a particular promotion, I think you certainly have the right to put your own members above those who might have been in great in other organizations, but not necessarily yours. So I know a lot of other names from other promotions have been mentioned, but I don't know if they necessarily belong there. So even like the Fantastics, as great a tag team as those guys were, they were never in WWE, and so I can't see why they would be in the Hall of Fame because of their accomplishments working for somebody else. So I totally get that. But in the grand scheme of things, I think certainly with all the money that people are being charged to go to WrestleMania, for merch, to go to shows. I'm going to a Saturday night main event over the summer. And I think that these guys, with all the money on the table, I think for a lot of these guys, can you stop being a capitalist for a minute and invest in a physical Hall of Fame that people can go to and see? Look, you want to charge admission, you charge admission for everything else. Go ahead. I think you still would have a lot of people that would like to go and see those great halls of the Inoue family, the great hall of the different territories and promotions, the great hall of the stars of old, Luthez and Buddy Rogers and those guys who built the business. I think that the WWE owes that, as much as they want to tear away from wrestling. I think that would be certainly a very redemptive act if whoever could can take that on. But I think if you don't, unfortunately, wrestling is going to lose a lot of its history. Unfortunately, if you don't have people who want to keep this alive. But I think with companies with billions of dollars, you can invest in establishing a real Hall of Fame and let people be able to go back and enjoy and share. A grandfather can share with his grandchildren what wrestling was like back in his day. Thank God for YouTube, because again, that's certainly one of the ways you can go back and watch some of these old promotions. But I think to be able to see and touch and feel, I think that would be an experience that a lot of people would embrace. So, but good show tonight, and yeah, that's all I got.
I'm glad we had this discussion because thinking about a lot of those wrestlers that a good number of us may have watched for the last 30, 40 years, it would be great to see a physical Hall of Fame put together. And for someone who never wrestled in the WWE to finally get their recognition, because I feel like there's a good number of wrestlers that have been overlooked. And Paul said it best. This is something I think if Vince McMahon ever does get back involved with the WWE, I would love for him to do something like this. It would be great to see these different wings. One on the legacy of his family and how they went to different territories, got the best wrestlers, the best talent, and wrestled under his umbrella, which became the WWF, now the WWE. It would be great to see different sections of the Hall of Fame to pay tribute to Mid-South, and Stampede Wrestling and all these other promotions that were independent and territorial for the last within the last 50, 60 years. And then maybe also to show how the why it's important to maintain the history of the territorials, whether it's Florida Championship Wrestling, Ohio Valley, it would be great. Then people will have an understanding before the wrestlers went by the names we recognize. They were either wrestling under their actual given names or an alias you never heard of or never knew. It would be great to see something like that. It would be great to see two mannequins honoring Hulk Hogan, one in his traditional red and yellow, and one when he became Hollywood Hogan to lead the NWO. It'd be great to see a place to see Ric Flair's extravagant robes. And he never wore the same robe twice. It'd be great to see something in pink and black honoring the Hearts and everyone connected to the Hearts and how they contributed. It would be great to see a section honoring the Anoa'i and Fatu families and how they contributed. It'd be great to see a wing honoring the women from going from first being valets to then competitors. It would be great to see a section honoring the likes of Rocky Johnson, Ernie Ladd, Booker T, The Rock, and what they contributed to the sport as well. It would be great. And because the WWE owns the libraries of all of these other promotions as well as their own, and yes, with the thanks with the internet and social media, we could watch a lot of these matches that we never got a chance to see or forgot about. To have an actual building to pay tribute to the different promotions, the independent promotions as well that helped lay the foundation to where it is now, it would be a great thing. And hopefully, I'm alive to see it. And I know hopefully a lot of us will be alive to get a chance to walk into that building and to see all these pictures, to watch videos and see all these items. Everything from the Honky Tonks Man guitars to Bray Wyatt's lantern. Just to see how the sport has changed, how it evolved, just so this business can still be around. And that's all I got to say. And those are some words we're thinking about.
All right, thanks, guys. So I got two things really fast. Okay, so it came to my attention as the show was going on, and I didn't keep up with wrestling news today. So here, let me put this up because this is kind of breaking news. So WWE has released Alex in Black again. Zayla Vagel, Karen Sang, and Motor City Machine Guns.
The Motor City Machine Guns?
Yeah, they didn't do anything with those guys. They were stale. Alex and Black, I'm kind of surprised because they were actually. I was thinking they were going to be doing something with him soon. So let's do a quick schedule, guys. So tomorrow I will be MIA. I will be at work, doing my thing, flipping my good thing. So Paul and my man Anton are going to be taking over the show tomorrow. So tomorrow the guys will get going off Body Slam and Box Office. Guys talking about wrestling movies, like The Wrestler, the Heels, maybe. It's up to you guys. What are you guys gonna do? Gray area on Sunday. We are talking about taxes. Paul.
taxes.
Easy enough. And on Tuesday, we'll be back with Spar Arena. We're gonna be talking about toxic toxic passion or toxic passion versus stable love. Which one will last? And obviously, we'll be back on Friday with the wrestling talk. Not sure when we'll get to this week, maybe next week. I mean, this Friday come out next Friday. But I'd like us to finish watching. I don't know if you guys even started watching the Hulk Hogan documentary.
Yeah,
Chop
yeah.
up, we
Hope
got
I
it.
documented this weekend. Yeah.
So maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, we're going to be on the air with that. So I'm actually looking forward to see and looking at watching the whole thing. But it's a lot to watch. But except that, this was a Spartan Arena. I'm Spartan. This was a Spartan SU Network. I am the Spartan, aka this is the Spartan Wrestling Talk. My man Paul, my man Anton. Of course, I am the Spartan. As always, get myself ready here. As always, stay fresh, stay safe. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Have a good one.